Chosen one. Heaven has already decided. The verdict has been spoken in the unseen. And the only question now is whether you'll move. When the command reaches your spirit, you've felt it, haven't you? That divine restlessness, the sense that something is shifting beneath the surface. It's not anxiety, it's acceleration. God is rearranging the chessboard of your destiny, and the next move is not optional. It's divine. This is not the time to second-guess what He told you in stillness. This is the hour to run with it. Because when heaven decides, hesitation becomes disobedience. The same door you prayed for will only stay open for a moment, long enough for the obedient to walk through. You weren't being delayed, you were being positioned. The silence wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every closed path was clearing space for this exact moment. The one heaven has chosen to propel you forward. You're about to feel divine pressure, not to break you, but to launch you. God doesn't shout when He's serious, He whispers. And right now, that whisper is echoing through your entire being. Run. Run from fear, run from indecision, run from everything that's tried to anchor you to an expired season. Because heaven's green light has already been given, and if you stay where you are, you'll start to feel the weight of where you should have been. This next move will not make sense to the logical mind. It will contradict convenience, confuse people, and challenge your comfort. But it will carry confirmation in your spirit. You'll know it's God because the same peace that once told you to wait will now say, go. Chosen one, this isn't just another transition. It's a divine decision, and heaven has already shifted the atmosphere to favor your obedience. Don't announce it, don't explain it, just move when He says move. Because when God calls, delay is costly, but obedience is destiny. Heaven's door is open. The command has been released, and the next step you take won't just change your path, it will change your pace. So get ready. Heaven isn't asking you to walk this time, it's commanding you to run. Chosen one. There comes a moment in every divine journey when heaven stops observing and starts intervening. That moment is now. You've reached the threshold where destiny no longer negotiates. It executes. For years, you've walked through uncertainty, waiting for signs, confirmations, or the doors that never opened. But what you didn't realize is that heaven wasn't ignoring your prayers. It was finalizing its decision. Everything that seemed delayed was actually in divine deliberation. God was rearranging timelines, recalibrating people and reshaping environments so that when He moved, nothing could resist His will. That's why the waiting was so heavy. Because heaven was writing something irreversible. You weren't stuck. You were suspended between instruction and activation. And now, chosen one, the verdict has been spoken. The season of hesitation has ended. The decree has been released in the spirit. Move. This isn't a suggestion. It's not a gentle nudge. It's a divine command. Heaven has decided to advance your assignment, and the shift will not be comfortable. It will be cataclysmic. You'll feel it first as pressure in your atmosphere, like the air itself is changing density. The things that once fit will start to feel restrictive. Conversations that once inspired you will suddenly sound hollow. Your spirit will start rejecting what your flesh used to tolerate. Don't fight it. It's the sign that heaven's momentum is overtaking your old rhythm. God has already set things in motion that your mind hasn't yet caught up to. While you were questioning your path, heaven was mobilizing angels, redirecting resources, and preparing intersections that will alter everything. Some people will exit your life abruptly, not because of conflict, but because heaven is cutting ties that could slow your movement. Others will appear seemingly out of nowhere, carrying the next piece of your divine blueprint. Pay attention. Nothing from this point forward will be coincidence. This is the moment the spiritual becomes visible. The decisions made in the unseen are about to manifest in your physical world. That's why the energy around you feels both chaotic and charged. Divine order always begins as disruption. Before heaven settles you, it must first stir you. That discomfort you're feeling is the sound of purpose waking up. And here's what you must understand. When heaven decides, human opinion becomes irrelevant. You no longer need to explain your obedience to those who don't carry your instruction. This move is between you and God alone. There will be people who think you've lost your mind, but they didn't hear what you heard. They didn't survive what shaped you. They weren't in the room when heaven made its decision. Chosen one, stop doubting the shift you feel. It's not a test, it's a transition. Heaven has already chosen you for this acceleration. The divine court has ruled in your favor, and no earthly resistance can overrule it. You are stepping into a momentum that cannot be stopped, only delayed by hesitation. Don't delay. Every second counts in this season. When the Spirit says, go, it's not because you're ready, it's because it's time. Readiness is not a feeling, it's decision. And heaven has already decided for you, so stand up, lift your head. The command has been released. The waiting room has closed and the battlefield has opened. You're not just being sent, you're being launched. Heaven's decision has been made. Now it's your turn to move like you believe it. Because the next step you take isn't ordinary, it's ordained. Chosen one. One of the greatest tests of faith is not hearing God say, wait. It's recognizing when He finally says now. You've prayed for signs, you've begged for clarity, but when the divine moment arrives, it doesn't come with a trumpet or a cloud. It comes as a quiet urgency that stirs your entire being. That's how heaven speaks when the season shifts. The same voice that once told you to be still will now whisper, go. This now moment is subtle, yet undeniable. It doesn't appear in logic, it appears in alignment. Suddenly, everything around you starts to either move with you or fall away from you. The energy changes, the atmosphere tightens. You feel both nervous and certain at the same time. That tension in your spirit isn't confusion, it's confirmation. Heaven never waits for your comfort before commanding your movement. When the divine clock strikes, obedience must outrun overthinking. Recognizing God's now requires spiritual sensitivity, not human understanding. Your circumstances might still look impossible, but your spirit will sense a green light where your mind only sees risk. That's how faith works. It doesn't ask, can I afford to move? It asks, can I afford to stay where I no longer belong? Heaven will make your current space feel too small, too heavy, too silent, until you finally take the step you've been afraid to take. This is why your old routines stopped working. The prayers that once felt powerful now feel empty. The conversations that once filled you now drain you. Heaven is disconnecting you from expired frequencies so your spirit can hear the new instruction clearly. You might think you're losing motivation, but what's actually happening is that your energy is being reallocated. The passion that's fading in one place is about to reignite in another. When God says now, He often says it through disruption. Doors begin to close without warning. People distance themselves. Plans collapse, not because you've failed, but because heaven is forcing you out of delay. You'll know it's time to move when what used to be peaceful starts to feel painful. That discomfort is divine momentum in disguise. God rarely gives you comfort and calling in the same place. Chosen one, hesitation has an expiration date. There's a window of divine timing, a moment where obedience multiplies your purpose. Miss it, and you'll feel the weight of spiritual stagnation. Seize it, and you'll step into acceleration. That's why this season feels urgent, not because you're being punished, but because you're being pushed. Heaven is done waiting for you to be ready. It's time to respond. Recognizing the divine now isn't about rushing blindly, it's about listening deeply. You'll hear it in repetition, in dreams that return, in verses that follow you, in random confirmations that echo the same message. Move. It's heaven's way of making sure you don't miss your alignment. When God says now, everything He promised begins to orbit closer. Opportunities that once felt distant start finding you. But if you hesitate too long, that orbit passes. You are standing in a divine intersection where faith meets fulfillment. This is the moment where the unseen becomes visible, but only if you move when heaven signals. The delay isn't demonic anymore, it's internal. You're not waiting for God, He's waiting for your obedience to activate what He's already ordained. The Spirit of God is saying, this is it. The time you prayed for is here. But it won't feel glamorous. It will feel uncomfortable, even inconvenient. That's how heaven hides miracles, inside the unfamiliar. You won't have all the details, you'll only have direction. And that's enough. Because chosen ones don't walk by certainty, they walk by signal. So listen closely. The wind that once pushed against you will start to push behind you. The resistance will turn into momentum, and the same voice that told you to stay hidden is now commanding. Go forth. Don't wait for validation. Don't wait for understanding. When heaven says now, move, even if you're trembling. Because the blessing isn't in the waiting anymore. It's in the walking. Chosen one. Every time God speaks, the universe shifts to make space for your obedience. But when you delay, that divine alignment begins to close. You've felt it before. That invisible weight pressing on your chest when you knew what you were supposed to do. But fear made you freeze. That's not guilt. That's spiritual gravity. The pull of destiny trying to remind you that divine instruction carries divine urgency. Heaven doesn't operate on your comfort. It operates on covenant. When God gives a command, it's not a suggestion. It's a timed assignment attached to specific doors, people, and moments. And the longer you wait, the heavier it becomes. That's why delay doesn't just cost time, it drains power. Obedience carries momentum, but hesitation creates spiritual stagnation. You stop flowing and start sinking. You see, chosen one, obedience is the language of trust. Every time you say yes without knowing how, you declare that heaven's plan is more reliable than your logic. But when you delay that yes You're not just postponing your blessing, you're postponing heaven's movement through you. God doesn't lose patience with you. He pauses progress until you realign. The command doesn't change, but the timing does. And when you finally move, what could have been effortless often becomes warfare. That's the cost of delayed obedience. It turns divine instruction into unnecessary battles. What God meant to elevate you can start to exhaust you because it's now outside the grace window it was meant to flow in. You start fighting for what was supposed to follow you. You start chasing what was once being sent toward you. Heaven's ease turns into earthly effort the moment you hesitate. Some of the confusion you've been feeling isn't demonic attack. It's delayed obedience catching up with you. You're trying to rest in a place God's already moved on from. That's why everything feels off. You're occupying expired space. The oil that once flowed there has already been poured into your next instruction. God won't anoint disobedience. He loves you too much to bless where He told you not to stay. And yet, grace still covers you. Because even when you delay, heaven doesn't delete your destiny. It waits for you to remember who you are. The moment you say yes, everything begins to accelerate again. Doors reopen. Favor returns. The heaviness lifts. It's not punishment, it's alignment. Your obedience resets heaven's rhythm around you. Think about Jonah, chosen by God, but delayed by fear. He didn't lose his calling, he just took the long way there. The storm wasn't to destroy him, it was to redirect him. The same is true for you. That pressure you feel isn't God's anger. It's His mercy pulling you back onto your path. He's saying, you don't have time to wait for perfect conditions. Move with what you have. I'll meet you on the way. The weight you've been feeling lately isn't random. It's the echo of an unfulfilled command. You prayed for confirmation, and God gave it. You asked for timing, and He whispered now. But every time you questioned yourself, that window narrowed just a little more. Heaven doesn't punish hesitation. It simply passes the moment to someone who will move when called. Don't let that be your story. Chosen one, delayed obedience is still disobedience. Not because God is harsh, but because divine purpose depends on precision. There are people waiting on the other side of your movement. There are blessings suspended in midair because you haven't taken the step that unlocks them. Your obedience is not about control, it's about cooperation. Heaven's flow is waiting for your yes. So release the fear, release the hesitation. You've spent enough time preparing. Now it's time to participate. The same God who called you will carry you. The same grace that waited will empower you. Because when you finally act on what God already said, the weight will lift, the doors will open, and the path will light up beneath your feet. Not because you found the way, but because you became it. Why God prepared you in silence. Chosen one, before heaven ever calls you to speak, it calls you to listen. And before God ever sends you out into visibility, He pulls you into stillness, not to punish you, but to prepare you. The silence you endured was not absence, it was alignment. Every quiet season was a divine classroom where your spirit learned what your emotions could not. You weren't forgotten, you were being fine-tuned. When God prepares you for movement, He first isolates you from noise. You start losing interest in conversations that once entertained you. Your social circle narrows. You find yourself craving solitude, not because you're antisocial, but because your soul recognizes that it's being wired. Silence is where the chosen are rebuilt. It's the womb of transformation, the sacred in-between, where heaven reconstructs your identity before the world sees it. You see, chosen one, the silence wasn't God ignoring you, it was God upgrading you. When your spirit went quiet, he was installing new instructions that couldn't survive in chaos. He was teaching you how to hear him without confirmation, how to trust him without applause. Every unanswered prayer, every delayed promise, every night that felt empty was heaven's way of fortifying your discernment. In silence, your ears sharpen. Your spirit begins to detect counterfeit energy instantly. You start recognizing when something is of God and when it's merely distraction. That's not intuition, that's training. Heaven can't release you into influence until it can trust your hearing. You had to learn that God's voice doesn't always thunder. Sometimes it whispers. And if you can obey a whisper, you're ready for a command. That's why your plans kept failing. Heaven was canceling distractions disguised as opportunities. The silence was never rejection, it was redirection. You wanted clarity about the next step, but God was busy giving you capacity for the next level. There's a difference. Clarity shows you the path. Capacity keeps you standing when the path gets heavy. And capacity is only built in silence. You were hidden because your spirit was under renovation. The noise of the world would have rushed you, but God needed to slow you down. The more impatient you became, the more precise heaven's work was. Every delay was divine surgery, removing fear, healing disappointment, restoring your inner authority. You were being stripped of validation so that your obedience would never depend on approval again. Chosen one, if you only knew how much heaven accomplished while you felt stuck. Angels moved on your behalf. Plans shifted in your favor. People who would have sabotaged you were removed quietly, all while you sat there wondering why nothing was happening. The silence wasn't stillness, it was stealth. Heaven doesn't broadcast its blueprints, it conceals them until they're indestructible. You were taught to equate activity with progress, but God measures preparation by peace. When your surroundings went quiet, it wasn't emptiness. It was evidence that the noise around you no longer matched the sound within you. Heaven muted the world so you could learn the rhythm of your own anointing. And now, after all those silent nights and invisible battles, you've been forged into someone unshakable. You can sense danger before it speaks. You can feel deception before it manifests. You can discern destiny, even in disguise. That's what silence gave you, spiritual sight. So don't resent the quiet seasons that built you. They were never wasted. The silence was sacred. It was the sound of heaven, sculpting your purpose in secret. Now, when God says move, you won't panic. You'll recognize the tone. You'll move with precision, not confusion. You'll walk in obedience, not opinion. Because those who've been trained in silence don't need noise to know they're chosen. They carry confirmation in their calm. Chosen one. When heaven decides that your preparation is complete, time itself begins to obey your destiny. What once felt slow suddenly starts to move faster than your understanding can process. You wake up one day and realize the waiting is over. Not because anything changed on the outside, but because something shifted on the inside. That's divine acceleration. It's not chaos, it's convergence. Everything God promised begins to race toward fulfillment, not because you forced it, but because you finally became aligned with it. You see, divine timing is never about clocks or calendars. It's about readiness. While you thought God was delaying, He was developing. Every unanswered prayer was a rehearsal for what's now arriving. Heaven's pace doesn't match human patience, and that's why acceleration always feels like whiplash to the flesh. You waited for years, and now, suddenly, everything is happening at once. But that's how the Spirit moves. Slowly, then suddenly. The reason it feels so intense is because heaven is making up for lost time. Every moment you thought was wasted is being redeemed in a single sweep of divine speed. Connections appear from nowhere. Opportunities find you without effort. People who once overlooked you are now being assigned to assist you. You'll look around and realize you're standing in rooms that your faith built long before your feet arrived. This acceleration isn't random, it's restoration. Heaven is not just moving you forward, it's pulling back everything that was stolen. Every delay, every denial, every disappointment was secretly adding interest to your blessing. When divine timing activates, you don't just recover, you multiply. That's why this next season will feel like compressed destiny. Years of process are being condensed into months of progress. Chosen one. Acceleration requires adjustment. When heaven speeds up, you can't afford to move like you used to. You'll need to walk lighter, travel leaner, and focus sharper. Some things you carried in the slow season cannot come with you into the fast one. God is not being cruel when He forces separation. He's optimizing your movement. Excess weight creates drag, and heaven can't afford drag in acceleration. You may feel like you're losing control, but that's proof you're in alignment. Acceleration means surrender. God takes the wheel, and you hold the faith. You won't have time to analyze every detail. You'll have to trust the flow. This is where your spiritual training pays off. The discipline you developed in silence becomes your stability in motion. The patience you learned in waiting becomes your peace in acceleration. This is why the last season broke your pride, so that when this speed came, you wouldn't try to steer it. Heaven can't accelerate someone who still needs control. You had to learn that obedience is faster than planning. You had to learn that movement is sometimes the miracle. When divine timing accelerates, even opposition works for you. The very things that tried to block you begin to propel you. Resistance becomes momentum. Critics become confirmation. Every no you heard becomes the echo that amplifies God's yes. That's how heaven redeems motion, by making even your setbacks serve your purpose. Chosen one, don't be afraid of how fast things start unfolding. It's not instability, it's orchestration. The Spirit has synchronized everything, people, places, provision, to meet you at this point of divine readiness. You are stepping into a sequence that was prepared long before you doubted it existed. And here's the secret. Acceleration isn't about speed, it's about sequence. Heaven doesn't rush, it aligns. The reason everything is happening all at once is because everything is finally in place. The right doors, the right timing, the right version of you. So breathe. You're not behind. You're right on heaven's clock. What took others 10 years will take you 1. What used to resist you will now release you. Because when God accelerates, He doesn't need time. He uses obedience. Move with confidence. Chosen one. Your slow season was never wasted. It was synchronized. And now heaven has pressed fast forward. How to move without fear. Chosen one. Fear is the final gate between you and everything God promised. It stands guard right before your breakthrough, whispering lies that sound like logic. Every time you've been on the verge of movement, fear has shown up, dressed as reason, convincing you to wait just a little longer, to gather just a bit more proof. But heaven is not asking for your perfection. It's asking for your participation. The moment God says go, fear becomes irrelevant. You see, fear doesn't leave before obedience. It leaves because of obedience. The first step is never painless, but it's always prophetic. Every movement made in faith carries a sound that shatters darkness. Each time you obey trembling, you teach your spirit that heaven's voice is louder than hell's noise. That's how courage is born, not in the absence of fear, but in the decision to stop feeding it. Fear has one mission: to freeze divine timing. It convinces you to overthink what you should already be walking toward. It tells you to pray about things God already answered. It makes you rehearse old pain until you mistrust new opportunities. But chosen one, you cannot afford to keep negotiating with what God commanded you to conquer. The same Spirit that spoke your assignment has already equipped you to complete it. Moving without fear doesn't mean pretending to be fearless. It means trusting your anointing more than your anxiety. The call on your life is bigger than your comfort zone. Every chosen one must learn that faith and fear can stand in the same room, but only one can lead. Heaven's strategy for advancement isn't always comfort. Sometimes it's confrontation. You won't know what you're capable of until you move in the face of what used to paralyze you. Remember the Red Sea? It didn't part while Moses stood analyzing it. It opened when he lifted his staff. The power didn't appear before he moved. It appeared as he moved. That's the divine pattern. Miracles manifest mid-motion. You don't need the full map, you just need the first step. Each act of obedience reveals the next instruction. That's how heaven keeps you dependent on faith instead of formula. Fear thrives in hesitation because hesitation gives it space to speak. The longer you wait, the louder it grows. That's why heaven commands immediacy, not because God is impatient, but because He knows delay breeds doubt. Every moment you spend debating what you already know to do, your destiny waits outside the door you're too scared to open. Chosen one, this next level of your calling requires movement under pressure. You won't always feel ready, but readiness isn't emotional, it's spiritual. The same hand that called you will steady you as you step. Fear says, "What if I fall?" Faith whispers, "What if you fly?" God never asked you to be fearless. He asked you to be faithful. The difference between the two is obedience. There will be moments when your heart races, when your legs shake, when your voice trembles. Do it anyway. Heaven measures courage not by volume, but by motion. Even a quiet yes carries the weight of victory when spoken in faith. The first step doesn't have to be confident, it just has to be committed. And here's the mystery. Every time you obey, despite fear, fear loses authority in your life. It doesn't die all at once. It weakens through repetition. Step by step, your spirit learns that the unknown isn't empty. It's occupied by grace. That's how chosen ones walk, not by sight, not by certainty, but by sacred defiance against everything that says, stay still. So go. Go before you feel ready. Go before you have the plan. Go because heaven already went ahead of you. Fear is loud at the start of every new chapter, but silence always follows obedience. You'll look back one day and realize it was never fear holding you back. It was the belief that fear meant stop when it actually meant start. The world doesn't need another cautious believer. It needs a courageous chosen one who moves even when the shaking won't stop. Because that's where heaven proves itself strongest, in trembling hands that obey anyway. Chosen one. Every time heaven releases a command, hell reacts. Not because it can stop you, but because it knows it can't. The moment God decides to elevate you, resistance multiplies. Suddenly, people who are silent begin to speak. Obstacles appear from nowhere, and confusion tries to creep into your peace. But don't mistake movement in the shadows for power. Hell trembles at divine instruction. It can attack, but it cannot alter what heaven has authorized. You've felt it lately, that sudden chaos right after clarity. The moment you said yes to God's next step, your atmosphere shifted. That wasn't coincidence. It was confirmation. Whenever heaven declares advancement, opposition becomes inevitable. But chosen one, you are not under attack, you are under acceleration. The pressure you're feeling is proof that heaven's decree has already hit the spirit realm. The enemy doesn't waste energy on the disobedient. He fights movement, not meditation. Understand this truth. Hell can imitate timing, but it cannot override it. It can mimic opportunity, but it cannot duplicate destiny. What comes from God carries authority that no counterfeit can counterfeit. When heaven says, move, creation rearranges itself to make way for your obedience. Every demon that tries to block you ends up building the stage for your arrival. Every delay becomes setup. Every rejection becomes redirection. The enemy's interference becomes the evidence that the command has already been released. Chosen one, you were never meant to fight in the flesh. This isn't your battle. It's heaven's enforcement. God doesn't ask you to prove his authority. He asks you to trust it. When he sends you, he doesn't send you unprotected. Angels travel with instruction, and divine orders carry escort. You're not walking into danger. You're walking through destiny under divine supervision. That's why attacks intensify right before elevation. Hell senses movement in the spirit before you even see it in the natural. The tension you feel isn't failure. It's friction from breaking through barriers meant to contain you. The louder the resistance, the closer the release. Because hell knows what heaven just decided. Your next move cannot be undone. And here's the secret. Obedience is your weapon. You don't have to fight the darkness. You only have to keep walking toward the light. Every step you take in faith burns through the interference. Every time you move when fear says stop, you activate angelic enforcement. Hell's only strategy is intimidation, to make you question what God already confirmed, but it cannot cancel the decree. Remember, the command came from heaven, not from man. That means no opposition on earth or in spirit can override it. You're not waiting for permission to advance. You're carrying authorization to conquer. The gates of hell are loud because they're breaking, not because they're winning. When heaven speaks, hell panics. And that's exactly what you're witnessing now. Chosen one, don't waste your energy fighting what's already finished. Keep your focus forward. When God says go, He's already handled what's behind you. Let the enemy bark. He's only announcing his defeat. The proof of divine power isn't in the absence of conflict. It's in your peace during it. The calm you carry confuses darkness more than any weapon could. So walk boldly, move with assurance. When heaven commands, every force that rises against you becomes fuel for your momentum. The resistance you feel is only the friction of breakthrough. The same hand that wrote your destiny will silence every opposition raised against it. You are not outnumbered, you are out-schemed, and even those schemes serve the plan. Hell cannot compete with heaven's decree. And the fact that you're still standing is proof that you already won. Because when heaven says go, every gate opens, even the ones hell swore would stay shut. Your name has been authorized. Your steps have been ordered, and your victory has already been written. Chosen one. There comes a moment when the command is no longer coming. It's here. The waiting is over. The instruction has been written in your spirit, and heaven is already in motion. You can't hide behind, "I'm praying about it" anymore, because prayer is no longer the question. Obedience is. You're standing in the hour where your movement is the prayer. Your obedience is the worship, and your courage is the confirmation. Heaven has already started running. Now it's waiting to see if you'll keep pace. You've spent seasons resisting acceleration because you mistook fear for discernment. You told yourself you were waiting on peace, but what you were really doing was protecting comfort. Peace isn't the absence of movement, it's the presence of alignment. Heaven's path rarely feels safe, but it always feels right. The shaking you sense right now isn't danger, it's divine propulsion. God isn't pushing you away from something, He's pushing you into what He already prepared. This final chapter isn't about trying harder, it's about surrendering deeper. Running with heaven means trusting its rhythm, even when your logic can't keep up. It means saying yes when your mind screams, wait. It means remembering that your calling didn't come from comfort. It came from covenant, and covenants demand motion. You've been trained in the dark for this moment. The silence, the isolation, the closed doors, all of it was conditioning your spirit for the pace of destiny. Heaven can't afford slow obedience anymore. The kingdom is moving, and your name is written into this wave of divine urgency. If you stop now, you'll feel the weight of resistance where there should have been wind. Because once heaven moves, delay doesn't just slow you down, it suffocates your assignment. Running with heaven doesn't mean rushing blindly. It means following faithfully. You won't always know where the next step lands, but you'll always know who sent you. The Spirit will guide, but you must stride. Divine partnership is motion, not meditation. Every chosen one learns that at some point, you don't find your path by thinking. You find it by walking. And every time your feet hit the ground, heaven adjusts the terrain beneath you. The enemy's greatest victory is not to stop you, but to slow you. Because he knows a delayed chosen one is as ineffective as a defeated one. But not this time. You've learned too much. You've lost too much. You've grown too much to stay still when heaven says go. The same God who sustained you in the silence is the one calling you into the storm. not to drown you, but to display you. The wind that once terrified you is now your transportation. Chosen one, this is your defining season. You are not running from responsibility. You are running with revelation. You are no longer escaping pressure. You are expanding purpose. Heaven's momentum has already begun to carry you into divine intersections, places you couldn't reach through effort, only through alignment. The road ahead may be narrow, but it will be illuminated. Every step you take will reveal what obedience hides from fear. When you run with heaven, you don't just chase blessings, they chase you. Doors open without knocking. Favor locates you before you even arrive. You start to realize that destiny isn't something you achieve, it's something you agree with. God doesn't need your perfection, He needs your participation. And when you finally stop resisting and start responding, the flow becomes effortless. So run, chosen one. Not out of panic, but out of purpose. Not because you're trying to escape what was, but because you're embracing what's next. Your steps are prophetic. Your movement is worship. Every stride echoes a heavenly decree. I am in alignment. And when you reach the point where fear can't follow, you'll look back and understand you were never running alone. Heaven wasn't behind you cheering. It was beside you carrying. This is your moment. The time of hiding is over. The call has been made. The command has been released. Now don't walk. Run. Run with heaven until your life becomes proof that obedience outruns fear, and destiny bows to those who move when God says now. Because chosen one, this isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning of your divine momentum.